Good day, Canada. Good evening, Asia. It's Thursday, 12 p.m. in Toronto, and it's time for our regular webinar on immigration to Canada. My name is Alex Davison, and today we're going to talk about provincial immigration to Manitoba. As usual, I will spend a couple of minutes introducing our team and our mission in Bangladesh. Then we will discuss general information about geographical and political division of Canada. I will briefly tell you the difference between federal and provincial immigration. Next, we'll focus on the province of Manitoba and what one may expect moving there. Our next steps will be introduction and discussion of the Manitoba provincial nominee streams, what they are and how to understand them. We'll talk about eligibility requirements and follow the next steps on what to do if you would like to immigrate under the provincial stream. Last but not least, I will share our team context for questions, answers, and direct communication. So let's go. For those who don't know us yet, our team consists of professional licensed immigration experts with over 10 years of visa and immigration experience each one. We're located here in Toronto with additional office in the city of Markham, and over a period of the decade we have assisted more than 8,400 people and individuals and families to relocate to our country temporarily or permanently. We are in Bangladesh for two main reasons and confusion. Starting almost day one of our immigration works, we have heard stories of fake and dishonest consultants and so-called agents cheating and defrauding people in Asia, using their desperate wish to come to our country for a better life. Quite honestly, situation in Bangladesh was pretty bad those days, and it's not much better now. This is why when we had a chance to establish true connections with our partner's visa office, we immediately launched a campaign to raise awareness, to educate people on true and honest immigration programs and initiatives. Our joint goal is to change situation with immigration to Canada in Asia and in Bangladesh in particular. And I'm tremendously thankful to all of you joining our regular webinars and spreading the word about them. Together we'll be able to change this situation for the best. So, provinces and territories of Canada. Our country is the second largest in the world, occupying the best part of the North American continent. Canada consists of 10 provinces and 3 territories, and it's essential to know that in accordance to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, citizens and permanent residents of Canada have a right to move freely between territories and provinces and establish their homes without limitations. One may choose any city, town, or township in Canada to be settled in and raise children, work, and contribute to economical, cultural development of your new home. Immigration law has 2 separate streams, federal and provincial. And as it might be noted from the name, federal immigration is governed by the federal authorities and provincial by authorities and provinces. Here are a few typical examples of each. Start with the federal immigration. It's well-known Federal Skilled Worker Express Entry Program. It's Federal Skilled Trades, Canadian Experience Class, Live-in Caregiver, also known as Caregiver right now, Federal Entrepreneur, Self-Employed, and Investor Programs. Provincial immigration, on the other hand, is a group of immigration programs established by provinces and territories of Canada. For example, Alberta, Manitoba, Ontario nominee programs and initiatives. Going a little bit deeper and more about differences in provincial and federal immigration. Federal immigration. Applicants are submitted to the federal authorities like Citizenship and Immigration Canada, or shortly known as CIC, and an applicant may choose any destination in Canada for settlement. Well, Quebec might be an exception. For example, if you're applying under the Federal Skilled Worker Express Entry Initiative, and you select, let's take it to Calgary as a landed city. No one, however, would penalize you later on if you decide to come to Toronto instead. Provincial immigration programs, on the other hand, are regulated by local provincial authorities, and an applicant must choose a specific program or province or territory as his or her destination. This is probably the major and the most important difference between those two. Now, a little bit about core principles on provincial immigration. Underpopulated, remote provinces nowadays they tend to develop programs to attract more immigrants who may otherwise choose to come to traditionally overpopulated provinces with high intake rates for new immigrants. Provinces and territories, however, are bound by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Remember, on the previous slides, we touched the base on that, which that Charter of Rights and Freedoms does not allow restrictions on free move and free settlement of permanent residents of Canada, which in other terms means that no one could legally bound you if you don't want to. This does not, however, mean that immigration laws and procedures should be violated, of course. Here is a common issue. Such traditional quote-to-quote provinces as British Columbia, as Ontario, usually tend to attract more immigrants than other territories or provinces, which in turns leads to a situation with a growing unemployment rate in such provinces, high prices of residential living, infrastructure shortage, etc., etc. On the other hand, other provinces may experience serious lack of qualified workforce, which may lead to slow economy development of such a province. So what to do with that? As I have previously said, there is no legal mechanism which will bound newcomers to live in a certain province. Therefore, provincial immigration programs are specifically designed to bring newcomers to certain provinces. Since there is no way to tie a newcomer to the province, those provinces they tend to select candidates who already have established connection with the province or could prove that such connections would exist in the future. That could be enough friends, relatives in a province. Very, very few provincial immigration programs are open to candidates without connections. And Manitoba, by the way, is one of such provinces which does not necessarily would require you to have somebody in there. Now, let's talk a little bit about Manitoba itself, what it is, and how. What you may expect if you would decide to live in this province. Province of Manitoba, that's grasslands, savannas, an average climate in Winnipeg, a capital of Manitoba, is 26 to 30 heat degrees in summer and about -10 to -20 in winter. Not too cold, not too hot either. Manitoba has a common border with our southern neighbor America and is usually associated with developed farming, mining, tourism, and energy sector. By the way, its economy is one of the strongest in Canada, and its unemployment rate is one of the lowest across the country. Last year, unemployment rate in Manitoba was just 5.4, which is tremendously low. Speaking of the housing costs, they're 8 to 10 times lower than those in Montreal, Vancouver, or Toronto, while salaries are pretty much on par with other provinces. Not surprisingly, Manitoba residents are among the richest ones in Canada. There are 3 provincial nominee programs or streams in Manitoba: skilled workers in Manitoba, business immigration, and skilled workers overseas. Let's talk a little bit about those. Skilled workers, in a nutshell, are those who already have a permanent job offer from Manitoba employers. For example, those could be foreign students who have received a job offer from an employer in the province. Skilled worker overseas are those who are looking to come to Manitoba from another country and wish to be settled in there. I'm assuming those are pretty much most of our listeners today. Business immigrants are those who have enough of assets and business experience and would like to open a business in the province of Manitoba and live in there. Minimum assets value for such applicants, it's just by the way for your information, is 350,000 Canadian dollars. It does not necessarily mean that you would have to spend them, but that's the minimum threshold for business immigration to Manitoba. As we've previously discussed, the major eligibility requirement to Manitoba is connection. Connection through friends in the province, or relatives, or 6 months of work experience, or completion of studies in Manitoba, or invitation from Manitoba immigration authorities. The last point I have specifically put additional emphasis on that. It means that you do not have to necessarily have anyone in the province. You may receive an invitation based on the interview with the provincial immigration authorities. On the other hand, the good thing is that Bangladeshi community is pretty strong in Manitoba, and one may easily connect and find friends or even relatives already living in there. But as I've said a second ago, it's not 100% necessary, and there is a way to do that through the interview with the visa officers of Manitoba. Let's get a little bit further into the eligibility requirement. So the eligibility criteria for Manitoba. Age, an applicant should preferably be 21 to 45 years of age at the time of applying. It does not necessarily mean that you cannot apply at 46, say, or 50 years of age, but age is one of the most important selection criteria. Put it simple, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So the sooner you make a decision to immigrate, the better. Work experience. At least 2 years of skilled and qualified work experience or equivalency in accumulated part-time work experience. Simple enough. Education. At least 1 year of post-secondary education or diploma or degree or certificate or a training program. The most dreadful one, language requirement, IELTS. And guys, I want to be honest with you, there's pretty much no realistic way to immigrate without language test passed to our country. In Manitoba, however, language test minimum threshold is kept low enough to attract applicants from abroad and give them a chance to be settled in the province. So what's needed? CLB, which stands for Canadian Language Benchmark 5, CLB 5, right, in all four modules, in reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Translated into the terms of IELTS, it means that you have to score at least 4.0 for listening, 5 in writing, reading, and speaking. More than possible for everyone, right? Now, a few final words on immigration under the provincial program. Provincial immigration programs are processed in two major stages or two major steps, if you will. First, an application is lodged with the provincial government, which issues a certificate to a successful candidate. Then, an application is lodged with the federal government, which grants permanent residency to a candidate. As a result, you become a permanent resident, a PR in Canada, and you start establishing your life, and most importantly for our country, contributing economically and culturally to the development of Canada. So, what should we do next if we're looking to assess our chances and eventually apply? First and foremost, choose your immigration plan. I would like to share a very quick personal story from my own experience here. An individual from your country, from Bangladesh, let's call him Udin. He has been cheated and defrauded a few times locally before coming to us. Unsuccessful federal application submission, lack of trust, disappointment with the local agents, lots and lots of time and money wasted and lost. That was about 6 years ago, by the way. He now lives in Winnipeg, in fact, about like 5 kilometers from Winnipeg in Manitoba. He owns two Asia buffet restaurants in Midtown, and the last time we met was about 5 months ago. He has already brought his parents in, his mom and his dad. He has applied for the citizenship. And that's, by the way, a real client of ours and a real friend of mine. So, what's the lesson here? Choose your right immigration partners carefully in the beginning. It's probably one of the most essential steps in lodging your application and deciding to apply. Remember, in the beginning, we talked about our missions and goals initially. And I said, we're here to raise awareness. We're here to educate people and bring legal immigration practice to Bangladesh. How to contact us? Well, here's my direct email address, the email address, phone number, and contacts of our partners. We're proudly working with experts of Visa Center who are knowledgeable, trustworthy, and experienced professionals. Please, please feel free to ask questions, address your thoughts, concerns, ideas directly to us. We are here to help you, and we're here to spread the word. Last but not least, my personal request to you: tell your friends, colleagues, peers to subscribe and follow our weekly webinars. Together, we will be able to change the situation with immigration to Canada from Asia and protect people from fraud. This is what we're here for. And thank you so much for coming today, for joining our webinar, for listening to this podcast. It's very, very important for all of us. It's very important for the community to change and reverse the situation for the best. Really, thank you so much for being with me today. Next time, we will continue talking about our education in Canada and we'll focus on schools. And a week after that, we will return to provincial immigration. Thank you all, and goodbye.